So from here, once we have a few of our priorities listed, so what we want to do is start researching top companies for those priorities, right? So we'll take priority one, and I'm just going to shorten this to innovative, make it a little bit easier. And so let's start with priority one, innovative. If we want to look for the most innovative companies, right? What might be, does anyone have any resources on different research methods they use to research companies or get information on companies? Whether it's innovative, right? We can look at compensation. I mean, we can really take any of these, but I like to hear from the class first on what are some things that you've been using so far that have been helpful. Alvin, I'll go ahead and bring you on again.
Yeah, so I'm very much in this area. So for innovation, basically I looked at in terms of the companies that produce a number of patents. So you can easily figure out, from Googling to see, what particular companies, have particular patents that they've already invented. So that's one aspect of innovation. And then the second one that I also look at too is the paper publications. So in terms of what papers do they produce, and what are the conferences that they publish to? Is it top conferences, or is it medium size, like mid-level conferences, things like that? So basically that's how I look at innovation, is in terms of the kind of the output, in terms of how it influences the company and what other people see the company as.
That's great. Now, since it sounds like you've already done a lot of research in here, what are some top companies that you've come across after doing your research?
So I looked at definitely Microsoft. So Microsoft has a research organization called Microsoft Research, and they basically do this kind of stuff that I mentioned about. Also, as well, Amazon does a lot of work with academics. I know some of the Amazon people that do that. Facebook also as well has a research lab that they do kind of stuff too as well. And also definitely Google. So Google does a lot of this, innovation and this kind of research where they do I think it's something like 80-20 kind of split, where you do, 80%, on your own particular work, but you have 20% that you can work on pet projects,
Yes, I've heard of that. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, thanks. Doesn't surprise me any of the companies you came up with. But yeah, I mean, that's a good route to go, looking at papers, things like that. That's great. What about for compensation? If compensation is one of your priorities, sorry, Stephen, I see your hand up. 1 second. Hi, yep, go ahead.
Hey, hi there. So a couple of things, compensation levels.fyi is a very interesting website where people submit their W-2s, and, you can kind of perhaps see something that's realistic. Glassdoor. For a company, just looks like what's really going on behind the scenes in a company. I'm curious if there's other places. I know Fishbowl, might be kind of something like that as well.
Yep, I've heard of Fishbowl too.
Those are always with a bit of a grain of salt, right? But those are certainly interesting.
Yes. Thank you. And I'm glad you brought up levels.fyi. It's one of my favorite resources, at least for compensation. So I definitely want to go over levels.fyi. So for those of you who haven't seen this resource, it's a wonderful resource. It compares, tons of different tech companies. What it gives you an idea of is not only the salaries, but also the leveling, right? So what does an L5 equate to at Facebook? Looks like there might be some overlap with these. What does that equate to at Microsoft, right? Microsoft has tons of levels. You can also get an idea of how flat an organization is. So if moving up and getting promoted is really important to you, maybe it looks like Microsoft is actually a better place to be than Google. While they're wider bands, they look a little bit, less actual promotion opportunities. So go back to your interview strategies, jot down a few priorities. We'll just take a few minutes here. I'm not going to, take about 3 or 4 minutes. Start doing some research on your own. Start really getting defined on your priorities, and maybe come up with a few different companies that you feel would be at the top of your list. So we'll take 3 minutes and then we'll come back.
Want to become a software engineer at Google? You can, like thousands of our students. You just need to learn from those who've already cleared FANG interviews. At Interview Kickstart, Our interview prep courses are developed and taught live by 150 plus instructors from Tier 1 companies like Google and Facebook. Our courses are tailored to help you crack software engineering domain interviews, including back-end, full stack, machine learning, embedded systems, data science, and more. To learn more, book your free webinar slot today